This video is brought to you by John Robson Guitar Tuition. If you enjoy the content, please consider supporting the channel by enrolling on a course, purchasing some guitar lessons or a t-shirt, or you can join my Patreon. Now, on with the show. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. Today's Tuesday, which means we're doing a top 5 video, and the topic under discussion today, as you are no doubt aware because you've seen the thumbnail and read the title of the video before you clicked on it, what I'm talking about today are the 5 guitar players that I would love to hang out with. Living or dead. In some cases, I would have to, allow myself the luxury of a little bit of time travel to go back to the correct period in history to meet and play with and have a beer with and talk to the player in question. But, we can allow that for the purposes of this video, I think. 4 out of the 5 names I'm going to mention here are massive, massive heroes of mine. The other one isn't so much, but you'll understand more when we get to that name on the list. So, what names are on the list? Well, let's get started with
Gary Moore.
Yeah, if anybody is surprised that this name was first on the list, then here he is. Let's put him up on screen. If anyone was surprised that this was the first name on the list, then you obviously haven't been watching my channel very long. Gary has always been my kind of number one guitar hero, really. Well, not always. I started off, the thing that piqued my interest in electric guitar as a really young toddler was hearing Apache by the Shadows on the radio. But as soon as I heard Gary in the early 80s when I was at college, I'd sort of turned off rock music then because it all seemed to be, kind of either poodle perm and spandex and all that kind of 80s glam metal, and if it wasn't that, it was all of the kind of more aggressive thrashy sort of stuff that I couldn't get a handle on either. But one of the lads who I was sharing a dorm with at college had Victims of the Future, the whatever was that was the current Gary Moore album at the time, so I guess that makes it 1984. And I heard that and I just thought, this guy is absolutely incredible. And I've followed his career ever since and sort of went backwards and discovered his work with Thin Lizzy and Colosseum too, and all the way back to albums like from the early 70s that he did, Grinding Stone. That's a great album. But Gary, sadly no longer with us. I would love to just jam with this guy and have a beer with him and just, and just hang out with him. It would be, an absolute dream come true if that could ever happen. If time travel is ever invented, that would be the use I would put it to. Yeah, Gary Moore. Absolutely had to be on the list. Next.
Layla era, Eric Clapton.
Yeah, now, I'm the first person to admit that Eric Clapton's career is somewhat patchy, but if you like blues and blues rock, if that's the kind of thing that lights a fire under you, then go and check out the Layla album. It's his best album he's ever made. Derek and the Dominoes, Layla and Other Assorted Love Songs. He's done albums that have got close to this in terms of the quality and the sheer kind of passion, really, in the playing. And that it's Clapton. It's never going to be about shredding at 1,000,000 miles an hour. That's not what he's about as a player. But just for the soul and the power and the, just the sheer emotional content of that album. It's a double album, and, you feel absolutely exhausted by the time you've listened to it all. And one of the tracks that turned me on to the blues, actually, probably the most important thing. There's a few tracks that really kind of piqued me interest in that genre, but probably the kind of first amongst equals on that list is the fantastic Key to the Highway jam that's on the Layla era, on the Layla album. Eric and Dwayne Allman and just jamming their hearts out. Absolutely fantastic. And just to have been a fly on the wall at those sessions, just to kind of see the eye contact going between the musicians in the room. That I think Paul Gambaccini summed it up brilliantly when he said in an interview once, you can tell there's a moment in a piece of music when the musicians involved all suddenly realise that they are part of something special that's going to kind of live long after they have left this earth. And that's definitely a vibe I get from listening to the whole Layla album. And, you know, to be a fly on the wall, as I said, be present at those sessions and to hang out with Eric and Dwayne and the guys, you know, and just kind of maybe even contribute a few licks to myself. That would be again another worthy use for the as yet uninvented technology of time travel. So yeah, Layla era Clapton, my favourite era of his playing. I don't think he's ever surpassed it. Next.
Charlie Christian.
Yes, Charlie Christian, really speaking, the godfather of electric lead guitar. I mean, I guess in the jazz genre you had Django Reinhardt, who was around a little bit before Charlie Christian, but Django was really known for that sort of gypsy jazz, acoustic instruments kind of style, which is, you know, a significant thing, because I think it's probably fair to say that that sort of hot club Paris gypsy jazz kind of stuff, Stefan Grappelli and Django and everything, that's probably the first identifiably non-American form of jazz, isn't it? It's got as much to do with the sort of European gypsy folk tradition as it has with you know, American jazz, but in terms of playing electric guitar as a lead instrument, Charlie's the man. I did a solo analysis of one of his tunes, oh gosh, must be a couple of years back now, a tune called Rose Room that he recorded with the Benny Goodman Orchestra. The story goes that John Hammond, who was a legendary music producer and A&R guy, heard Charlie Christian playing and thought, I've got to get this guy into Benny's band, Benny Goodman, you know. And snuck him into a gig and snuck his equipment up on stage. Benny Goodman was somewhat put out by this, it has to be said, and launched into a tune called Rose Room, the song I did the solo analysis from, and thinking there's no way this guy's going to have heard of this tune, he's going to be all at sea here. Charlie Christian listened once through to the chord sequence and then just kind of dived in and started soloing, and him and Benny Goodman were doing kind of back at yous, you know, kind of one-upmanship, you know, okay, top this kind of thing, solos at each other for about 40 minutes. And after that, Goodman hired Charlie Christian on the spot to be a permanent member of the band. An absolutely astonishing musician, you know. The thing that I find astonishing about Charlie Christian is, you know, you listen to his style and kind of take away the sort of graininess of the recordings, because, you know, when they were recorded back in the 30s, I guess, you take away the graininess of the recordings and it sounds remarkably modern. And, like, you know, as guitarists these days, we've got like a whole shelf full of, or a library full of electric guitar licks that we can steal. Where was Charlie getting his ideas from? You know, that's kind of ground zero. That's you know, the kind of landing point for electric lead guitar, and nobody would really be playing electric lead guitar these days, I think, if it wasn't for Charlie Christian, and just the ability to jump in a TARDIS or something and go back to those heady days, probably you know, in a speakeasy somewhere, and have a beer and have a chat and have a jam with Charlie Christian. Who would not want to do that? Certainly, it's something I would relish. So there you go, Charlie Christian. Next.
Jeff Beck.
Yes, Mr. Beck, sadly, once again, no longer with us. When he passed away, it was just one of those shocking moments. We had a bit of a kind of spate of these, didn't we, back in about 2016? You know, so many great. I mean, when David Bowie, however you pronounce it, when he passed away, and Lemmy, and you forget that these people are. Wilco Johnson, there's another one. You forget that these people are flesh and blood and mortal like the rest of us, because they are such behemoths of the industry that you just think of them as being static and always there. And it's something of a shock to realise when they're not. Eddie Van Halen, there's another one. You know, but I mean, when I heard the news of Jeff's passing, I did my own little tribute to him, my cover of "'Cause We've Ended as Lovers," and as I think I said at the time, it was a tribute to Jeff Beck. It wasn't an impersonation, because no one could impersonate Jeff. Even if you were stood or sat, right next to him, 2 feet away, watching him play, I defy anybody to copy what he did. It was just, he was an absolute wizard, and I say it's impossible to copy him. I would have loved to have given it a go. I would have loved to have been there to say, how is he doing that? And I remember seeing an interview with him, probably about 10 years ago. It was on some TV show, like an audience with kind of format, where the audience were asking questions, and there was a host there as well. And he was just the sweetest, most humble guy who just genuinely didn't seem to get what all the fuss was about, why people regarded him in such esteem. So, yeah, I would have loved to have played and met and had a beer and a talk with Jeff. There you go. Next.
The 18-year-old me.
Yeah, now, file this one under If Only I'd Known Then What I Know Now, basically. To go back to 1985, there I am in the college halls of residence. Look at the luxury on display there. Yes. And you can see the gatefold poster that came with the Gary Moore fill in it, Out in the Fields 12-inch single on the wall behind me there. To go back and just give myself a little bit of encouragement, because I used to, at 18 years old, I used to listen to all of these fantastic players and get really disheartened, thinking, I'm never going to be that good. I'm never really going to achieve, that level of, whether I was listening to Gary or Jeff or, whoever. And, I'm not saying that I have, but, maybe I would have done if I'd gone back, if I could go back in time and have a word in my own ear back then and say, just keep at it. Don't get disheartened. Just, hey, try this. Have you thought about fingering this like this? It's like, it's, again, time travel, messing with time and all that sort of stuff, isn't it? There's probably a science fiction plot in there somewhere. But, I would have loved to have, I think if I could do that, it would have accelerated my playing, and maybe the stuff that I was just about beginning to master when I was in my 30s, I would have been able to do by the time I was in my early 20s, and maybe a different career path would have ensued. Not that I'm complaining, I do okay for myself, but it would be nice, as I say, to just go back and, kind of have a little bit of if only I'd known then what I know now. So there you go. Those are the 5 guitar players from history. Some alive, some not, that I would love to find a way of hanging out with, having a beer with, having a talk, having a jam with, basically. I'm sure you probably have your own list of 5, so please leave those in the comments. I'm genuinely interested to know what that would be. But that is the video for today, folks. Hope you enjoyed it and found it entertaining and useful in some small way, and if that's the case, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so. And why not drop me a like as well while you're at it. Don't forget the live stream every Friday, 5 PM UK time, where we drink beer and talk about music and guitars. Great way to kick off the weekend. I'd love to see you there if you can make it. But for now, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now.